What I want to demonstrate in this tutorial is how to extrude a two-dimensional object into a three-dimensional model using Photoshop. Now, first what we need to do is we need to get rid of the background, and that's why I chose a lizard with a white background, because the white background is very easy to get rid of. So if I click on my layers, you'll see that I have layer 1 and I have background. I can actually get rid of this background layer because I'm not going to need it. Okay, just by clicking it and dragging it into the trash. And then usually what I do is I use my magic wand tool and I select the background and hit delete, and then use my marquee tool to select the rest of it and also hit delete and Control D to deselect. And now I have my image ready in order to make it into a 3D extrusion. Now to do that, what I need to do is I need to call up the 3D options and the tools for that. So if I go to Window and 3D, it's located here, and I can click on that, and you'll see that your 3D options will pop up by your layers. I'm going to click on 3D Extrusion and go to Create. And what it does is now it's going to think a little bit. Okay? And so when it does, you'll see that what's showing up is a top view of it, and there's a side view of it. And you'll see that it's already extruded. Okay, this gray area is what it's extruded, and it's already extruded my lizard a little bit. So you'll see that it does give you the dimension. This extruded at 9.53 inches. And what I want to do is I want to adjust that depth. So in order to do any of that, all those tools and options are located to the right hand side. So my extrusion depth, you'll see that it says 9.527, so 9.3 inches. And that's what it says over here. I can change that to make it much smaller. So I'm going to just click on that text, and I'm going to say 0.25 to make it really thin. You can also use the slide rule here in order to change it as well. Okay, or as I did, you can just type in the value. Okay, and you'll see it changes as you change the height. And it's set at 0.25 inches for the height. Now, if I move my cursor, my mouse, outside of my image, you'll see that it automatically has the orbit tool. So I can click and drag in order to rotate my image around. And there you can see the lesser extrusion that I gave it. Up above are additional tools such as rotate and move and your orbit. So you can work with the view a little bit up at top too. And also when you mouse into the areas, you'll see that your mouse changes and it automatically goes to some of the tools, the move tools and the rotate tools. So this is part of it, okay, is to extrude it not only flatly in the Z, but also to give it some movement, okay? And the way that we do that is if you click on V, you'll see that what pops up is essentially what we've done already. There's the extrude, and then there's a taper, and what that does is if I click and drag on it, it affects the taper of the extrusion. Okay. If I go above and go to the bend and I move my mouse, it bends my image. Okay, and then the outermost ring is to twist it. So I can really distort this guy if I want. Okay, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go to my history and I'm going to go back a little bit to my extrusion height. Okay, so you'll see that we're back with our image and a little bit of an extrusion. And what I want to do is I want to give it a little bit of inflation. So again, if I hit V, that'll give me those first set of options. And then if I hit V again, it'll give me the options to set my inflation and my bevel. So as I said, I want to inflate it, so I'm going to click on the inflation and I'm going to drag my cursor up. Okay, essentially blowing up my lizard. And then off to the right of that, I have a setting that actually adjusts my inflation angle. So if he's really, really fat, I can make it large. If he's really, really skinny, I can make it small. Okay, but you can start to play with that a little bit. And then also what you can do is you can play with the bevel angle too as well. Okay, you'll see it changing it. Okay, and it adds a little bit of a bevel angle to it, and you can also adjust that option here too as well. Okay, but you know, not my favorite thing, so I'm going to go back to my inflation, and when I orbit around, you'll see that that's what my model looks like. Now obviously you can take a lot more time and care and really start, you know, really get it right. But when you're done, what you can do is you can export it as an OBJ, which is a generic 3D modeling file. To do that, if I go back into my 3D palette and I go in the options to the right, okay, I can go to Export 3D Layer, and I'm going to change my file type to OBJ. You can also do an STL, which is a stereolithography. I'm going to name it Lizard. Hit OK. And it also, what it does is it exports your material mapping too. So if you ever need to reconnect your material to your model in a different program, it will allow you to do that too. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Rhino. And I'm going to open up my model in Rhino. And this is just one of the 3D programs that you can use. You can do others as well. As I mentioned, an OBJ is a generic 3D modeling file. So any program should open it up. And I'm going to go into Open, and I'm going to find my OBJ file and my desktop. And you'll see that now it brings in this model based upon my work in Photoshop. And it's a real, true 3D mesh model.